Smooth flight. There's not really much to see other than green jungle and river. That's it. You don't pass any. There's no civilization. No. You might see some boats, but there's no farms, no towns, nothing.
Hello and welcome back to the Fat Dad Fishing Show. I'm your host, Rich Natoli, and we're back in the cold weather, and we're talking about bucket list fishing tonight. We've got Erik Cohen on. He's made multiple trips to fish the Amazon of all places, and we're going to talk about that trip, but we're going to talk about it from a little bit of a different perspective. So we're going to talk about it more about how to take a bucket list trip. What goes behind it? We're certainly going to talk about fishing the Amazon itself as well, in case you're interested in that. But we're going to talk about what's the process? How do you do it? How the hell did he just go from fishing off of New Jersey in his boat and all of a sudden being down in the Amazon in the middle of nowhere? So we're going to get into all of that. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We're going to go through the sponsors before we bring Erik on and just give a quick update on the Discord community that has been set up in the background. We're just a couple of weeks away from actually opening that up to everybody, so been definitely looking forward to that. So let's start off with our sponsors. We've got Great Bay Outfitters, Radio Road in Tuckerton. If you're a kayak fisherman, freshwater, saltwater, anywhere in the tri-state area, you're probably going to want to look at Great Bay Outfitters. Paul and his team, they got the new kayaks, they got the natives, they got the old towns. They have all the gear, and they can trick out any of your kayaks, whether it's a Hobie. It doesn't matter what it is. If you want to power that thing up, Paul's got it covered. And he's also, if you're looking for a kayak, does have consignment kayaks there as well. So it doesn't have to be one of those brands either. Oh, and the Crescent. He's got the Crescent kayaks too, and the skiffs. You got to check those things out. Then we have Quad Stay Tuned with Kevin Driscoll. If you have a Toyota truck, a 4Runner, Tundra, a Lexus 460 or 470, these engine tunes will get you better torque, better horsepower, better performance out of those, especially the third-gen Tacomas, which has that gear hunting issue where it doesn't quite feel like it's in the right gear when you're traveling down the highway. If you want to get better performance out of those Toyota trucks, give Kevin a call. He'll tell you if you need it or not. He'll get you all set up. And then you have me with real estate. I serve residential in southeastern Pennsylvania. Also neighboring areas. I have a pretty big partner network. So if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate in southeastern Pennsylvania, I'm at Weichert Realtors Cornerstone. Out of the Bluebell office is basically where I am every day. And you can reach out to me, 267-270-1145. And now let's talk real quick about the community that we're setting up for Fat Dad Fishing. This is a community for everybody that watches the show, listens to the show, just wants to connect with other anglers all up and down the East Coast. We have a Discord channel. It's not public yet. It's being tested in the background, put together. We're going to try to launch it, not in perfect shape, but in at least reasonably good shape so that people can get in there and really connect with each other. Whether you want to get together, set up a fishing trip, set up a trip to the Amazon as an example. If you want to set up a trip out, into Raritan Bay for the striped bass in, next month when it opens up, you can do it in there. If you just want to talk fishing, you want to make fun of anyone on this stream, you can do it in there. There's going to be a spot for everything. We're even going to open up voice channels, which will make it a lot easier for people. So, you can just get in there and have a conversation as well. So that's coming up soon. I want to thank those that are in there testing it out right now and giving feedback. And I'm looking forward to that. I think it's just going to be a great way to keep in touch. If you don't have Discord, get it. You can just have it on the app on your phone. It's just going to be really easy to communicate with people, get out on the water, and just have more fun. So that's the update. I see my brother in there. There is a Make Fun of Rich channel. There is not, although my brother is an admin, which is probably the dumbest decision I ever made to allow him to do that. But if you see him in there, his name is Deviant. He's going to be, I wouldn't be shocked to see a channel in there to make fun of me and other people. So that'll be fun. So with that said, we're going to get Erik on screen right now. Erik, welcome back.
Thanks, Rich. Good to be back. Happy to be back on, and also happy that you have the show back on.
Yeah.
It's been 2 years. I know it was you had a a rough stretch in there where you weren't doing the show, and it's nice for me to come back on. It's nice. I'm glad that you're back doing the podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so that if people don't know. So Erik and I have fished together a couple of times. We met down in New Jersey, went out on your little boat and the big boat.
Yes.
Had a lot of fun. And Erik was a guest on a live stream and podcast. However, it was when I was with Saltstrong. So that's why it's not on this channel. And we did talk about the Amazon on that one, but we didn't quite get into everything that we wanted to talk about. And one of the things that I really wanted to talk about is the whole process behind bucket list trips. And Erik and I were talking before this, and I made the point that when I talked to him a couple of years ago, just over 2 years ago, the conversation was, hey, Rich, why don't you head down to the Amazon with me when I head back down next year or two? I said, sure, why not? And then I was thinking, I'll wait another couple of years. He's going to be making trips all over the place. So I'll just jump in, one of them. And then life changes really friggin' quick. And all of a sudden, I can't go right now if I wanted to. Well, I do want to, because situations change. And, I guess that's why it's called a bucket list. It's something that you want to do before you die. And we all put it off constantly. And you're not putting them off. And I think that's an important thing to do, because if I were to die tomorrow, I would regret not taking some of these bucket list trips that I have they're attainable. Like, I could just do them, and I could have just done them anytime over the past 20 years. And I just didn't do it. Like the example I gave Erik was, I want to go for bonefish just down in Florida. That's it. Why have I not gone for bonefish? I could have done it 100 times by now, and I just haven't done it. There are people that, that I've talked to that just wanted to go fishing up in Nantucket, and it took them 10 years to do it. They live in New York. Like, why didn't you just go to Nantucket? And I just think it's something that it's a good topic. Let's talk about it. Let's get people thinking, what should we be doing and why aren't we doing it? And if you can hear about a dude that just got up out of nowhere, flew out of New Jersey, New Jersey, wherever you flew out of.
New Jersey.
And then you ended up in the Amazon. I mean, that's pretty good motivation to get off our asses and get moving.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's talk about it. So the Amazon trip. Let's talk about your most recent one.
Well, I looked, before you start, I just looked up on my phone the quote we were talking about before the show started. It's attributed to Leonardo da Vinci, urging people to take action and pursue their goals rather than leaving them as unfulfilled wishes. He said, "Die with memories, not dreams." So that's a good quote to use for these bucket list trips.
I think it is, and I think it's it's something that we all think about. Everybody has a list. One of the most common questions at the end of fishing podcasts is, "What's your bucket list fish?"
Right.
The more common question is, which bucket list did you cross off this year? Mm-hmm. There's some, like I would love to go bill fishing off of Africa. That's a big one. Mm-hmm. But, there are a lot of things that are attainable that I'd like to do that I just haven't done. And I think most of us fit in that. Most of us do. So, all right. So let's talk about the Amazon. Let's talk about, just generally speaking, what was this trip? Where'd you go? Where'd you fly out of? Where'd you fly into? What's the general high level overview of this trip? So
a year ago, it's been about a year, I did my second trip. So my first one was in 2023. My second. So what some people, maybe I considered it a bucket list trip until the first few hours of the first day. I said, no, this is something I want to do again and maybe often, maybe yearly. And I would like to do it yearly eventually. My son is still in high school. I'm not really I can't really do these kind of trips every year. But so my first trip in 2023, it was a good experience as a first-time visitor to the Brazilian jungle. We stayed at a place that was pretty nice, all things considered. A nice place to stay, really nice boats. We learned a lot from that experience about what we wanted to do. I learned a lot about what I wanted to do on a second trip. And the main difference was the one I went to this in 2025 was not a lodge. So 2023, I went to a lodge. Mm-hmm. What I learned later was the problem with a lodge is that the conditions can change rapidly in the Amazon, mostly from rainfall. So water can rise, water can recede. You want low water instead of high water levels, things like that. So when you go to a stationary lodge in this region, that you don't have any options. If you've got bad conditions, whether they be too high or too low, you're stuck there. That's what you got for the week. So the trip I took last year, I did a little bit more research, and I decided on a place that has a model of floating cabins. So, and it's a much smaller group that goes. It's much more exclusive type rivers. So if you can believe it, you think of the Brazilian jungle, you don't think of it as getting a lot of fishing pressure, but there are some areas that get fishing pressure.
Okay.
So I wanted to go to a place that had little pressure and the ability to be mobile. So if I encountered high water, rainy conditions, you can move, you can adapt to that. So that's what I did. So it was a little bit different. So yes, you're still going for the same, 6 days. It's a week trip. Like I said, it's a smaller group, but it just was a little bit different model, being able to be mobile. That was the main difference.
So, okay. So they're floating cabins. Does that mean that they were towing the cabins anywhere, or that was your base? They moved them based on where the best conditions were when you got there?
Yeah, basically. So you fly in on a seaplane. My first time ever on a seaplane. So it takes off from Manaus, Brazil, which is a big city in the middle of the Amazon. About a little over an hour flight. And it was actually, I don't like small planes, but it was the smoothest of all my flights that week. I mean, the commercial flights were a lot bumpier. Smooth flight. There's not really much to see other than green jungle and river. That's it. You don't pass any. There's no civilization. No. You might see some boats, but there's no farms, no towns, nothing. So you're just looking at that for an hour and 10, 20 minutes. We landed on the river. The cabins are pulled up to a beach, essentially. They're beached. And every 2 days on this trip, they move them. Now, sometimes you don't have to move them at all, but they want to move them. So while you're out fishing, you go out, you leave for the day. The staff connects the cabins in we call it a river train, and they move it, whether it's up or downstream, 5, 6, 7 miles. So when you come back at the end of that day, there's your cabin with all your belongings, but it's in a different place on a different beach.
Wow. That's awesome. That's a significant difference. They're moving 5+ miles.
Right. So we never fished, we never really fished the same water twice. So it was interesting because our best area, our best 2 days was the middle 2 days, day 3 and 4. For the week prior to us, that was the worst spot. And the week prior to us, their best spot was definitely our worst. So
really,
you just never know. Yeah. But I was glad to, I didn't care so much that we were going to fish different water because it's all different to me. You don't even know, you have no idea how these guides even know where they are because it all looks the same. It all winds around. You can't tell one spot from another, but they know where they're going. So that I didn't care about that, but I did care about having the ability to get to better areas if need be, if the conditions weren't great. And the Amazon, since I was there in 2023, they've gone through really some extreme conditions. They had, after I left, they've had the record droughts. I mean, droughts like the Amazon River has never seen before. Some riverbed was exposed. It's never been exposed in modern history. That's how low it was. And the fishing was terrible. 2024, anybody that I know that went in 2024 and early 25 was really bad. So, or I should say late 23 and 24. I was there in the beginning of 2025. So they had like 2 seasons of bad drought, and then the rivers got high again. They were too high. So I think now it's getting a little bit more in balance, but they've had a lot of fluctuations.
It's back into the riverbed.
It's back where it should be. I have a couple of friends who are there right now. I'm seeing their pictures every day, and I'm getting jealous. It looks like it's back to where it should be. They're having an amazing week right now.
All right. So tell me, so you're down there, you have these, I assume that they're pretty nice floating cabins, but they're floating cabins. I mean, They are what they are. What are the, well, first of all, what's the name of the guide service that you use, and what's the service that you used?
So the company is called River Plate Anglers. River Plate is a Brazilian company. You can book with them, I think, directly if you want, but I'm not sure it's the easiest process because there might be a language barrier. But I found a company in Texas. Well, I was referred to a company in Texas called Rod and Gun Resources, who's one of the agents of River Plate, and I did everything through Rod and Gun. So I paid them. They arranged not I arranged my travel, but that's who I worked with, people in Texas.
Okay. All right. So you get set up with this outfit down there.
Right.
They fly you in. What are you getting around in? What kind of boats are you using? What kind of equipment? Did you have to bring your own rods and reels and everything?
Yeah. So the boats are so it's funny because this place was the more recent trip, the boats were a lot more rudimentary boats, and the equipment was not. It was a more expensive trip, probably because of the exclusivity of the river we fished in the area.
Right.
But the boats were not as nice. They were aluminum boats. Probably, if I had to guess, maybe like a 14 or 16-foot aluminum boat, a little outboard, a little tiller engine outboard, a kind of a very basic trolling motor on the stern that the guide would control.
Yeah.
So as far as gear goes, they have some stuff that you can use. It's I would say rent, but I think you could just use it. But most people, everyone that was on the trip with me, and I was the youngest of all the people. All the guys were in their 60s and 70s and have been going with this company for some. It was their 17th or 20th trip in a row. Yeah, so I was like the new guy, and so we all bring our own gear. Yeah, so you can use what they have, but I don't know what kind of condition it's in. And you bring gear that you're comfortable with. I've gotten some nice travel rods that I've taken on these trips. I brought my fly rods, which are they break down into 4 pieces. So all my own reels and everything like that. Lures too.
I always get nervous about using the equipment for guides.
Right?
Because you never know who's using it.
Mm-hmm.
And now I would assume that most of the people on these types of trips know what they're doing. Right.
Yeah.
So it's not like a party boat where they just get beat to hell, but you never know.
Right. I mean, I want you're comfortable with your rods and reels, and it's just easier. You want to do what you're comfortable with there. If you're comfortable, most of the guys, Brazil is a baitcaster country.
Oh yeah.
They don't use spin reels, almost none at all. And I use both. But it's good to do what you're comfortable with. If you're comfortable throwing a spin rod, don't go to Brazil and try to use a bait caster. You're going to be undoing birds' nests, So, yeah, and I fly fish a little bit too, like I said. So that obviously I had to bring my own.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the species that you were targeting. I mean, the pictures, people saw the cover of this,
right?
I mean, what are the targeted species for the most part when you were down there this last trip?
It's pretty much just the big peacock bass. I mean, There are other fish to catch there, but everybody's after the big peacock. Trophy peacock bass. Yeah.
Yeah, and you caught some. I mean,
yes.
Yeah, I'm going to put them up for the people that are watching. You guys listening, you're not going to be able to see this, but I want to put some of these up there so that people can see these. I mean,
yeah,
that's a nice fish.
It's amazing. I mean, I still look at it. It was last year, February 1st or 2nd of a year ago. And it's such a cool memory. I mean, because in the moment you don't really, you want to get a good picture, and you want to get the fish back in the water and
right.
And yeah. But when you look at it, like I was looking at it today when I was preparing for this, and I said, wow, those black bars, and it's just the colors on those things, the red, the orange, the yellow. They're so beautiful.
Yeah, I love this picture.
Yeah,
God,
that's a different species.
Yeah,
you can see the 3 spots or the 4 spots, I guess, with the tail. But they're called butterfly peacock bass, and they don't get huge. They don't get as big as the first picture, but they're a lot more plentiful. I mean, I don't mind catching them because they're you get your numbers with those guys, and you get the big size with the other species.
Yeah,
but look at the fins.
It's amazing. This is a fly that you're tossing here, or is this a?
Yeah, this particular area was really cool. This is one of my favorite spots. I don't remember all the areas that I fished, but I remember this one because if you look in the background, all those trees, they're balsa wood. I mean, they're like you can break those branches, those tree trunks, and they weigh nothing. They're so light. And this area you can see the bottom. It's all shallow. It's 2-3 feet, and this was all visual. Like you're just casting into the trees, and you start to retrieve your fly, and you see these peacocks come out from the timber and attack. And sometimes it's multiple fish at a time. And it was a really like a fun couple hours. We just stayed there for a few hours, and I don't mind doing that. It's such a cool experience.
That's awesome. And so this may be a stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Can I assume that you stay in the boat the entire time? You're not doing any anything?
Correct. Yeah, I don't remember. The only time I got out, maybe when we took a lunch break, on a sandy beach. There's a lot of sand, sandy areas there that you can get out. But yeah, generally you're not wading. There are, people are always curious about the piranhas. You're not going to find piranhas in a little shallow lagoon like this, but there are stingrays, freshwater stingrays.
Yeah.
I would consider stepping on one of those as one of the actual legitimate hazards down there. Okay. Stingrays and getting a treble hook in your neck from someone who's not paying attention when they're casting. That's the 2 things I worry about. I don't worry about piranhas.
Yeah, I wouldn't be worried about the piranhas, but I just don't know what's in those waters. I know the freshwater stingrays are an issue.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. They're
and
really
you,
cool to see. I mean, they're beautiful. They're
yeah,
black with white spots, and you do see them.
yeah. There's another picture of those. These are just incredible. Now, what is this?
That's a piranha.
Yeah, but what kind of piranha?
That I don't know. There's a
Okay,
lot of different piranha species, and this was the kind that was in the river there. So this was like really fun. It was pouring rain, and I'm just throwing this little twitch bait in, kind of like drifting, like drift fishing, and you just kept casting and casting to these like eddies and stuff on the right at the bank. And this lure that's in the picture, if you feel it, I think I got it here somewhere. But anyway, it's got all these teeth marks in it from those piranhas. Feels pretty cool.
that it's amazing how big. I mean, that thing is as long as it is almost.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
they're yeah. We didn't know. Like I was trying to catch peacocks in this area, but it happened to be an area where there was a lot of piranhas. Yeah, and there's the guides don't speak much English; they speak Portuguese. I think we talked about that before.
yeah.
And I was trying to say this is okay with me. I don't mind doing this. Like they want to get rid of the piranhas, get onto the big peacock bass. But I was trying to say this is good. Let's do this for a half hour. This is fun for me.
I would do that too. I mean, just to get the different species and the fun of and I imagine a fish that size is still going to give you a pretty decent fight.
Yeah, they pull pretty good. And some of these they keep to eat them.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're fun. I mean, it's just cool to catch a piranha. That's all. I tried on my fly rod. I didn't get any.
No, this is my favorite picture, by the way.
Oh, okay, thank you.
This is my favorite fish of yours. I don't know why. I just look at this and I think I look at the background and I think, wow, that's the Amazon.
Yeah.
It just looks like it, right?
Mm-hmm. This fish came up and ate a topwater lure. So that was the biggest one I got on topwater all week. And yeah, it was my biggest peacock ever. And for 24 hours, the day later, I caught that big fish.
The other one.
First slide. But yeah, so this was probably the best one visually because it came up for what they call a chopper. I don't know. I'll show you what a chopper looks like. I brought some little show and tell here.
Yeah, let me bring up so we can see it easier.
This thing is a huge prop bait with trebles on the front back, and you rip it through the water, and it makes like a big gurgling noise. And this thing is probably 7+ inches, and I caught some small fish on this too. So these are handmade by a guy in California. They're super expensive, but they'll last probably a lifetime. But they call them wood choppers, and that's a very common topwater lure that they throw in the Amazon.
You going to throw it anywhere around here?
I don't want to mess it up in saltwater because they're like $35 each or something. So it stays in my box for next time I go.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. So those are some beautiful fish, though. I got to tell you, those peacocks are crazy. And that first one, the biggest one, that is crazy. Just how dark those lines are and everything.
Just one cool fact about this fish: if you see that right behind its eye on its kind of like its gill plate, is that kind of like it looks like a map of Asia almost. Yeah, that is like the peacock bass's fingerprint. Every single one has a different pattern on their gill plate. You'll never find one that's no two that are alike.
Really? All right. So it's like the redfish with the
on that
spot patterns.
Yes, on this species. It's not on the other one, the butterfly, but on this the 3-bar they call it. That's like their fingerprint.
That's pretty cool. So what were you using when you were targeting these? Were you using, and I realize that, you're not going to use that other bait around here in saltwater or anything, but did you find that there's like a translation of similar type of tackle that you could use here that you can also use down there, or is it totally different?
No, it's very similar actually. Maybe some of the lures are slightly larger, but this is a Rebel jumping minnow. Yep. Which is, something we would use around here. This is one of the most popular lures in the Amazon. Even the guys in Brazil love to throw that. So, the topwater walk the dog style, 3 to 4.5 inches, maybe 4 to 5 inches is the typical thing that they'd like to throw down there. Some weeks you'll get them where they're very active on topwater. Sometimes you got to go like a mag, one of these Yozuris or something that goes below the surface like a diver. But yeah, this is another one that caught a lot of fish. So it's other than that chopper, which is giant, a lot of the baits are similar. Some are a little bit bigger than we use here, but it's a similar idea.
Okay. And was there anything that you needed to be concerned about when you're on the water? I'm going to go beyond the water
Okay.
because there is a question, but out on the water, were there any safety concerns?
Well, not really. I mean, on day number 5 or 6, I forget which, our engine died in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
I carry a Garmin inReach on the boat with me.
Hmm.
I wasn't sure. Like I said, the communication was a challenge because I don't speak Portuguese. So
Right.
I was trying to ask the guide, like I showed him the inReach and I said, "Do I need to? I can get help. Do I need to get help, or are you going to get help?"
Right.
Because there's no cell phone service there. So I don't know exactly what he did, but I did text my wife from the Amazon jungle. I said, "Hey," I said, "Don't worry, I'm fine, but we're dead in the water here. We have no engine. Can you call Randy, who's the owner of the company in Texas, have him call Alejandro, who's the camp manager, and tell him that we have no engine?"
That's
so
awesome.
so we put the trolling motor in and we continued to fish. And I would say within about 45 minutes to an hour, another boat showed up with a replacement engine. They took we motored over to a beach and they
Yeah.
swapped out the outboard right there. And then we went back to fishing. But yeah, I don't know what would have happened if my wife wasn't around and to
Just
receive my
drifting.
text. It was amazing.
Yeah. You're just drifting back. You're drifting back to the cabins. Just
when I got
spending the
back,
whole night.
when I got back at the end of the day, the camp manager, who was a really nice guy, Brazilian guy who speaks perfect English, he said to me, he was laughing. He said, "You know, this is the first time I've been doing this for 30 years. This is the first time I've ever heard about my equipment breaking down from America before I heard it from my people in Brazil."
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, that's good. I mean, it talks a lot about the outfit in Texas that took care of you.
right. And I don't know if anyone else would bring a Garmin inReach, but I mean, I brought it. You know, it works anywhere in the world. I
Right.
pay $15 a month for it, and it was worth it. So, but yeah, but as far as safety, no, I mean, I don't really know.
Let's go beyond the water then. So here's one of the questions. Do you ever have any issues or concerns with security and safety in such remote areas?
I don't. I'm not sure what they mean. Like if they're talking about like there's no like wild native Indians or like that kind of thing. Like there's no one aiming poison darts at you. It's not like that.
You're not coming up on the cocaine fields and all that stuff.
No, there's really nothing around. There's a community there that has, I think, about 30 people live there, and that's where a lot of the guides live. And there's another community a couple hours by boat downstream. But what I learned was I thought that these were like native Indian people that were like the original native, from that region. But what I learned was I think whenever the rubber boom was, I don't know if that was in the 20s or 30s or 40s, but people left the cities and went out to the Amazon jungle to be rubber farmers or rubber whatever. And some people just stayed after that was over and they just set up little communities. So now what they call indigenous, they're not really like indigenous.
They're not really. Yeah.
Yeah, but they live in that kind of way. It's not really, they do have a Wi-Fi and Starlink out there. So my guide, who doesn't speak English, we communicate sometimes on Instagram. We'll write messages to each other.
Okay.
Pretty cool. Yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah, so I saw that question. I was thinking there was years ago, my wife and my daughter decided they were going to go to Belize.
Okay.
And I've never been to Belize, but I do know that they went, and my son and I went to England. We went over there to watch some soccer in the Premier League, and they went to Belize for a couple weeks. And when they got back, the stories that I heard, and I don't know, again, I still know nothing about Belize, but they're talking about how they had to fly these single engine planes to actually get to where they were going from the major airport, but you couldn't fit more than one person on each plane. So my young daughter is on a plane all alone with the pilot flying off in Belize, just flying off. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, I don't even know anything about this place, but yeah, she flew with this dude. And my wife was in the plane right behind, and then the other people going to this resort were on the plane right behind,
But yeah,
and you get concerned because I don't know anything about these countries, about these people, about these remote areas that they're flying into. So maybe it was something like that, like you would have a different answer if you were flying into somewhere in Mexico.
Right? Probably. Yeah. Yeah.
That's dangerous.
There's really not a lot of civilization there. It's pretty remote. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. You weren't worried about anacondas and stuff coming up and getting you?
No, I mean, I didn't see any of that kind of stuff. I've never seen it.
No.
I've been there twice. I haven't seen a jaguar. I haven't seen any snakes. You see a lot of birds. Trying to think of other. Oh, we saw all these. I think they're called capybaras. They're big
Yeah, the big rodents.
Yeah, they're around. Yeah. So, but no, I didn't really have any concerns about that. I trust the company is very reputable. So
True.
they have arrangements with these local communities where they can fish those areas. Nobody else can.
That's great. That's great. And I do think it's interesting. You said that there, there are areas that are pressured.
Yeah.
You would think that you're not going to find any that are like, you can pretty well go wherever you want, but it just makes sense that, there are going to be pressured ones, especially when they're reaching them with seaplanes.
This place was a lot less. This was 8 anglers per week on a big stretch of water, because you move. The first place I went to was 28 anglers per week in the same general radius. So those fish are getting hammered from August through March, every day. That's a lot of pressure. To me, that's a lot of pressure. So yeah, I like this better. I would do this model again, or maybe something similar, maybe even a boat. There's houseboats you can do too that move along during the week.
That would be pretty cool. That would definitely be pretty cool.
I don't think they're as comfortable though. I think they're pretty. The cabins are pretty small in the boats.
Was it comfortable though?
Oh yeah, my place was fine. I was there by myself. I could not find anybody crazy enough to do this with me for my second trip. My first trip, was 4 of us from Bucks County that went, but so I had my double cabin to myself, so I had plenty of space.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the only way to do it, my friend. If you're going, just get your own thing, right?
I had my own cabin and my own guide and my own boat, so I paid extra. You pay an upcharge, but I think I always do better, even at home in New Jersey. I always have my much better fishing trips when I'm by myself.
Yeah,
always.
I tend to as well, because you're focused on your own stuff and you're not worried about, especially because you're typically the captain.
Right.
That's the worst. When you're the captain or someone's looking to you to get them on fish, that's the worst. That's the tough part.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why these guys are all stressed out when they're running boats. Right. Yes. I haven't met a captain that's not stressed all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Scotty he almost cried when he didn't have to fish on that, or when he didn't have to drive the boat on that tog trip. I mean, you would have thought like he just won the lottery. He's like, I don't have to drive. I'm like, no, I don't. You don't have to worry. All right. So let's go back and let's talk about, all right. So you've done the Amazon, you've done it twice. What is the best part? What is it that makes you want to keep doing this type of trip?
Well, I like the unexplored kind of territory that it is. It's really not, it's not fish. There's almost endless, there's almost endless places to go. You have to imagine this area is not like a big wide river like the Amazon River. This is a tributary, and it's the headwaters of a tributary. So it's way, way up, kind of, far from the big river systems. So it's not super deep, but it's just a never ending maze of winding creeks that lead into lagoons that lead into another creek that leads back out to the main river. And there's one place I remember that we fished twice, and I remember it because I caught that big fish there. But other than that, I couldn't tell you a single place that we fished more than once. So I love the peacock bass in general. They're aggressive. They're beautiful. They'll smash lures. They fight. I mean, some of my friends who I've talked to about this trip, they're a little bit, they don't have a level of interest because it's fresh water. But man, this fish, this is like a bluefish meets a snook. I mean, on steroids. I mean, it's most fish, like even when you get a big tog, let's say an 8, 9, 10 pound tog, when you wear that fish out, when you get it near the surface, it kind of like lays over and goes in the net. Yeah. But these things, the closer you get these fish to the boat, the nastier they get. And that's where a lot of people lose the fish, because they do not run out of steam. You have to be super careful. You have to adjust your drag when they get near the boat, because they see you push that net to try to scoop them, and it can take a while to land these fish, and they'll take drag and they jump.
Oh, nice.
So it's and just how beautiful they are, but they are tough. I've never seen any fish fight as hard as they do for as long as they do. They do not give up.
Really?
Yeah.
See, now I got to go catch some.
They are tough. You sometimes will pull up a small one and you'll be surprised how little it is because you just, wow, I can't believe that little fish is so strong.
It sounds almost like, sharks. Sharks, you bring a nice sized shark in and
Right.
you think you're on top of it. And then it sees the boat. Tuna do that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then it sees the boat, and then all of a sudden it's awake again. It's like, oh God, I got to start over. You just pulled in 300 yards of line, and now all of a sudden you're back to 400 out.
Right.
It sounds like it's that type of fishing.
And there's a lot of cover there, so there's a lot of fallen trees, and so they, when you get into one of these, I mean, you got almost at their mercy. Like the big ones, you can't really control them. They might go into the trees, and I have not had that, but some of the guys I fish with have, where a big fish will go get tangled in the branches, and the guide will jump out with a scuba mask, and go try to grab it, and they go under the water. They stay down there for a while. And sometimes they'll come up with a big fish in their hand.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love that they're not just letting the line break and
no, they
leaving them hung up.
I lost one bucktail jig in the tree all week. They will not let you lose a lure. It's amazing what they do. They have every trick in the book, and they use branches, and they use little big sticks, and they twist the line, and it's incredible. It's like you say, it's okay, forget it, we'll just go on. No, they will not let you leave a lure in the trees.
That's great. Well, it's also good for the environment. You're not leaving a lot of lead on the bottom. Of the Amazon.
Most of the stuff gets caught in the trees because you're casting to the tree line, and you got to let the cast go because you got to get close to the trees. That's where most of the fish are. So it's a perfectly natural thing to get stuck in the trees frequently.
All right, so that would make me feel better because especially if I had a baitcaster, I'd be in every single tree. I would definitely be the dude bringing the spinning rod. I am not good with the baitcaster. I can throw one, but I am not good at it.
I had both on this trip. I would keep my bucktail jigs on my spin rod and the chopper. So here's the thing with with this big thing.
Yeah,
this stayed on my baitcaster because you need the gear ratio. I have the Shimano Curado DX. Or DC. I forget what the gear ratio is, but I think it's like 8.4 to 1. Yeah, no, 8.5 to 1.
Okay.
So, because you really got to get up, you have to work that thing
moving,
and you have to bring in a lot of line at a time. And I don't know, maybe a spin rod could keep up, but a spin reel. But that was the reason I used that baitcaster. And I used that Curado DC is great because it's got that braking system where it's very. I think I had one backlash all week that was serious, but I kind of like it. Got used to it. I use that probably most of the time.
I got to practice. Is all it is. I just need to practice more. I can haul it out there. But I can't hit a spot with the baitcaster. I can cast without backlash. I just can't. I'm not precise at all because I never had to be. I can drop a spinning rod. I can drop it, right between the pilings underneath the dock, and I'm fine. But I can't skip a baitcaster. I can't. I just. I never had to. I'm from the Mid-Atlantic, right?
I know we don't use them. I mean, I use them for fluke in the ocean. I love a baitcaster, but I and it's funny because I use a spin rod for fluke in the bay. But one of the interesting things I discovered about my own casting, I'm left-handed, and I found, and then go try to make sense out of this with the baitcaster. A lot of times you're casting kind of sidearm, and when I cast sidearm, I have to do it with my right arm. But when I try to go overhead with the baitcaster with my right arm, I would backlash every single time. When I switched to my left arm and cast the baitcaster overhead, it was perfectly fine. And then I just switch hands. So I'm all messed up. I fly cast lefty. I throw a spinning rod left-handed, and then when it hits the water, I switch to my right and I reel left. I'm all over the place. So,
yeah, you are.
I couldn't figure out. I was practicing in the backyard. I couldn't figure out why I could not throw an overhand right-handed cast with the baitcaster. I was getting a backlash every time. And then when I switched to my left hand, it was perfectly fine.
It's funny. When I was little and I played baseball, I sucked, by the way, full disclosure. I was terrible. Uh-huh. I found out that I would strike out. I'm right-handed. Not anything left-handed about me. But I would strike out every single time or hit a weak ground ball right-handed, and I would get line drive singles left-handed.
Okay. Yeah.
That was it. I wouldn't strike out. I don't know what it was. I cannot do the same thing with fishing, though. I absolutely cannot. I cannot cast left. I mean, I could just, but I'm just.
Yeah, I'm definitely ambidextrous. It was just interesting for me to work through, but I can't. It's the only way for me to do it.
Oh, now you know.
Yeah.
Now you know.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk real quick before we get up to the wrap up here. So those people that are thinking about, okay, whether it's the Amazon or not,
Mhm.
right? Maybe it's time that we start thinking about the bucket list trip, or it doesn't even have to be a bucket list, but just something that people have wanted to do and you just haven't done. What's the first step that, the hardest part is getting started in the process. So what's the first step that you would recommend for something that's a trip out of your area that you're not comfortable with, you've never been to? What did you do?
Well, I would say you got to do a lot of research because you want to make sure you're going with a reputable company. And, I did use social media a lot. There's a good, some people, Facebook has its drawbacks, but for those groups, I belong to a lot of those groups where there's groups for almost anything. And you can talk to people, you can ask questions, talk to people who have been on these trips, get good recommendations. You can talk to, I do have people sometimes reach out to me. I'll answer a question on a group. I mean, I don't know if he's on the podcast now, but I was talking to a guy a couple of days ago about fishing in Brazil. He's never been there. He had a ton of questions. So I'm always happy to answer. But hopefully you find people who are willing to share information. I think the fishing community is pretty good that way.
Yeah.
Find a reputable company. You got to do research on how you get there and so on. Most of it's pretty easy to do unless you're really going to somewhere that's really far away, Seychelles or Australia or something. But yeah, there's a lot of information out there. You just have to narrow it down to what you want and find a reputable company to go with. I think that's the main two things.
So you've done a couple of these. I mean, not just you've had some pretty awesome trips, not just the Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you're going to a totally new area that you just say, whatever. I'll use an example that you and I talked about again before, bill fishing off of South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you just got that itch. Would you recommend, knowing what you know from previous trips and the planning and everything, going by yourself or getting a group of people together for the first trip?
If you can get a group, that's better, but not everybody is so adventurous or has the funds to do it. So, because it's, these trips can be pretty costly. But one other thing that I do is, I'm trying to think of a good example. I had to go to Cayman. I say had to. I had a work meeting in Cayman Islands 2 years ago. Yeah. And I knew I was going to have a rental car. I was going to be there for a few days. So I went on YouTube and I just typed in Cayman DIY or something like that. And just watching some YouTube videos. And a lot of times you could find from a YouTube channel, you could find a person's Instagram and send them a message. So I did that with a couple people. So they kind of gave me like some ideas of where to go in Grand Cayman. And there's plenty of places to go just to catch little baby tarpon. And that's what I did, before my work meetings. So YouTube's really good. If you can find someone who checks and you can message with them, that's one way to do it. Instagram's good. That's the way I like to do it.
I think it's great that you just said before work, you just went out to catch some baby tarpon.
Yeah.
That's just what you did. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. I'm jealous.
They were really babies, like 2-3 pounders.
Yeah. I would take it.
They're fun. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah. Get some trout gear and do it. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Little tiny black flies and a little light fly rod. That's all you need.
That's awesome. Do you have any different trips that you're thinking about doing outside of the Amazon? Or are you now hooked?
No, I'm going back to Brazil later this year. I'm going in the summer to a different place, totally different river system, totally different ecosystem, different target species. So that's coming up. And that's going to be very, very, very different than what I've done. And no, I don't have anything else really beyond that.
Okay. Anything saltwater?
Specifically for fishing, no, not at the moment. I mean, I do. We take family vacations and things like that. And I always try to work in a trip or three. But yes, so we do have some travel plans coming up later this year and next year. So yeah.
Okay. I want to hear about this next Brazil trip. What species are you thinking about targeting, or you're not sure yet?
No, I'm definitely sure. So this is one I've had my eye on for a while. So this is going to be my first fly only week. The places I've gone before, you can fly fish as much as you want, but it's not the only option. This is no conventional gear is permitted. This is like when I talked before about the people who are the guides who are not native Indians.
Yeah.
This place is real Indians. I'm talking about
Okay.
like painted faces, and it's not a joke. They're really, it's not a gimmick. They're really, these are a huge part of the Amazon, Brazilian Amazon, where this, I guess I call it a tribe. I'm not sure if it's a tribe, but they have this land. They're indigenous.
Okay.
So there's really like one place there. There's really no other operations in the area. And it's owned by a larger company that owns several different lodges, some in Brazil, some in Bolivia. It's a rocky, rapid type river. It's not a slow moving blackwater system like where I fished before. So if you can picture, like, if any of the viewers have ever, picture like the Susquehanna River around Harrisburg with those rocks and the rapids.
Yep.
It looks like that. And it's crystal clear water. There's peacock bass there, but not the giant ones. There is wolffish, big wolffish.
Oh, okay.
There is a fish called pacu, which is like a round silver dollar kind of fish. There's bacuda, which is like a long freshwater barracuda type of thing. There's a bunch of different. It's a multi-species kind of place. So you're not really after anything giant, but it's more of a you take fairly light fly gear. It's not like super heavy gear or anything like that. So that's coming up later this year.
That sounds awesome. I mean, just variety. I'm with you. Like, I don't need to have the biggest fish. Just to be able to get, one of the things that I've been absolutely fascinated with, especially in this cold weather we've been having, is, and I've had these back issues, so they have me on these steroids, which means I can't freaking sleep, Eric. I'm up until like 2 every night, and I'm up at like 7 to go to work. So I'm like exhausted. So what do? I put on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I am hooked on watching these guys microfishing.
Okay.
And then there's these guys like, I want to catch as many species as possible. And I'm going through their whole damn YouTube channels, watching every freaking species they're catching. And these guys are legit having the best time catching 5-inch fish just because they have never caught it before. I can't imagine doing that in another country with species that you'll never see up here.
Right.
Like, to me, that's some really cool fishing right there. It doesn't have to be like the 500-pound tuna,
right,
off New Jersey. I'll take the 15-inch whatever in Bolivia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing.
That's what this is. It's going to be like that. And I think I'll get it out of my system, and then I want to go back to the Rio Negro area for the big peacocks, because that's really kind of like what's becoming my favorite. But I'm going to do this. It's like I said, it's totally different. Yeah, it should be quite an adventure.
I feel bad for you. Your favorite species is turning into one that you have to fly to Brazil for.
Well, they're in Florida. I've caught many of them in Florida. But
they're in Florida, but they're not in Florida. Not like those.
Not like those. No, you can get some. If you get like a 5-pounder in Florida, you got a great fish.
Yeah. I do enjoy seeing the videos of the guys in Florida catching them, but there's nothing like what those. I mean, not even those 2 pictures. The other ones that you see. I mean, there's some really really nice fish there, and it is a different area. And most of the peacocks that I see in Florida, they're just caught in ponds.
Yeah, they're in ponds or in the Everglades, but like I've done trips in the Everglades before where if you get one over 2-3 pounds is a really big fish there. There's a lot of 1 pound fish. They're not as aggressive as the Brazilian fish. They don't really. I mean, in general they caught a little bit, I think, more below the surface, but. Yeah, there's a lot of private ponds, and they're all over the place. But there's an issue right now with the cold snap. I know I've seen a lot of reports of a lot of dead peacock bass. They're not built to withstand those snaps. No.
Yeah, I've seen a lot. It's a little concerning what this weather is doing to a lot of different areas.
Yeah,
I think I saw Lake Erie. It like froze totally over for the first time in 30 years.
Yeah. Did you see the video? You see the video of that guy ice skating in Sea Isle?
No.
Yeah, it was on one of the canals where the people, he's ice skating.
I get it, but man, is that dangerous?
Oh, it's just idiotic.
I get nervous whenever I see that, because the people are like, oh, you can't on saltwater. Well, saltwater freezes.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't freeze as hard.
How would you know how thick it is even? Yeah.
I always get nervous. So, well, that one firefighter died in Philly because he fell through the ice and got pulled under.
Right.
That's just a shame. But, well, I want to thank you for coming on. I think people can tell. I get so excited about these types of things and the different types of fishing, and it's not always about the biggest fish. Although when you're targeting those peacocks, you're after some of the biggest fish that are out there. But I love the idea of these trips and just doing things that you've never done before you don't have the chance, to do it.
Yeah, I think we all probably look at, I mean, most of us look at the world differently at least after like 2020 and all that stuff with being locked down in our houses and everything. And, you want to travel while you can. I don't want to get older and say, I wish I had done that trip. And so I went once and I liked it enough that, like I said, I want to hopefully make it a yearly trip in a few years. And yeah, it's a great place.
I'm sure you will. Well, thanks for coming on. And after you head back out later this year, how about coming back on and talk about this other one? I can't wait to hear about this next trip coming up. That to me just sounds so exciting.
I don't know if I can type. I was going to type the name in the chat, but I don't think I can type in the chat. But it's called, if you guys want to look it up on YouTube, the lodge it is a lodge. And after all the talk I did earlier about don't go to a lodge because you can't move, you're mobile. There's no this is you imagine like a rocky rapid river. You can't move big boats in this river. No. The only option is a lodge. But it's called Kenjam, KENDJAM, Kenjam Lodge. And there's
I put it in there for you.
Yeah, there's plenty of videos on YouTube on the Kenjam. Not plenty, but there's some videos on the Kenjam Lodge. It's just really cool to see what it looks like. It's not like the same kind of jungle I've been to before. It's quite different. Yeah, Kenjam. Right. Yeah.
Well, let's check that out. I'm getting a message that I got something from James Flynn on Instagram. I don't know if I'm supposed to play it right now or not. It makes me a little nervous. Oh God, he's showing okay. If I could bring this off of my phone. Yeah, now I see this dude on the canal. Good Lord. All right, people, look this up. All right. Yeah, the dude is with a hockey stick. That takes some guts. Being out there. But I guess when it's down to 9 degrees overnight.
Oh, yeah.
Makes sense.
I had enough of this.
I'm done with it, man. I can't do it anymore. I used to think I was tough. I can't do it anymore. I'm ready for the warm weather. I'm ready for striped bass to open up. I'm ready for fluke to get going. I just want to be in a kayak in 100-degree weather. I'm ready.
Yeah, we all are.
I've aged. Well, thank you very much again for coming on. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. We're going to announce the guest for next week a little bit later in the week. Still trying to nail that down. Again, it's the tough time of the year where it's tough to get it, people to come on. Everyone's just resting and trying to stay warm. So we'll get it together.
Time to get people when they're not doing anything else. We're all stuck in our houses.
Yeah, but also to be fair, a bunch of the captains, this is their only time off for the year.
Right.
So. The captains are like, yeah, I want to come on, but let's wait. And I'm like, I totally get it. Like, this is their summer. They're relaxing. They're not up at 5 a.m. cleaning boats. So, yeah, everyone, we will be back next week. We'll have a show. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. Eric, thank you again. Really appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure.
It's going to warm up this week. It's going to hit 40. So get out there, get on the water, and get some tight lines.